Well, Justin, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time today by participating in our interviews that we do for our Setsi YouTube page. It really helps to uh, focus, put that light on people like yourself that are making the changes that we need to see in the world today. So on behalf of Setsi, we thank you so much for today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honor by introducing yourself to the listeners and viewers and tell us about your remarkable work.
Thanks so much, and appreciate that acknowledgement. I'll say that I'm coming to you from Bunamagwedi in the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq people here in Mi'kma'ki. I live in Dartmouth on the other side of Halifax. And my name's Justin, and I wear a few different hats, and I'm happy to talk about any of them. My paid job is as the executive director of Farmers Markets in Nova Scotia, which is a nonprofit cooperative here of over 40 farmers markets across the province. And I'm also the co-founder and president of Canadian Farmers Markets, which is our national farmers market sector association. I'm involved with the Atlantic Food Action Coalition here in Atlantic Canada, as well as chairing the Center for Local Prosperity that works a lot on economic relocalization and decentralization. And I am one of the directors and founders of the Halifax Regional Food Hub, which is an aggregation, cold storage and distribution hub to support small-scale producers in the province. So it's a great pleasure to be here.
Awesome. That's powerful. Markets like that really set precedents for, people who start off in, small scale artisan style food business. Like myself, my background, I'm a vegan chef, certified vegan chef. And that was everything for me, starting off small scale in those markets. So that's amazing. And could you articulate your mission and vision for us today?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe I'll tell you, I guess, my sort of personal mission and vision. I'm always happy to talk about our organizations as well, but then I'd be giving you 5 different ones. And I'd say they're all pretty related. Yeah, I mean, to be completely transparent with you, I'm kind of driven by 2 sides, one on this shoulder and one on that shoulder, kind of classic angel and devil situation. On the sort of, devil side of things is a deep disdain for the current form of economics that is dominating our society. It's extractive, it's colonial, it's patriarchal, and in many instances, it's doing more harm than good. So I'm often driven by injustice and some of the harshness of the reality of this economic system that we're in. But that can't really sustain you for too long. So thankfully, on the other shoulder is another part of me that drives me, which is a deep belief and appreciation in the power of human beings to do good, the power of altruism, the power of togetherness, of kinship and camaraderie, and of communities. And that's what really drives me. I spend a lot of my time in the realm of food security and food sovereignty and economic relocalization. So my sort of mission is to sink my teeth into a variety of different projects and work with a variety of amazing individuals and organizations towards decentralization and relocalization for economically and environmentally and socially prosperous communities. And that's really what drives me, whether it's in the realm of farmers markets, sort of import substitution and relocalization around supporting local food producers. This is in a province where less than 15% of the food we consume is locally sourced, and 29% of the population in Nova Scotia is experiencing food insecurity as we speak. And that rate's significantly higher. Over 1/3 of racialized communities, households in Nova Scotia are experiencing food insecurity right now. This is the highest rates in the province. So my vision really is economically prosperous, communities, healthy households and individuals, and of course, like thriving local food systems. I think food is the foundation of so much. So that's what we work at, and sort of within the farmers markets realm. I mean, we have the most farmers markets per capita here in Nova Scotia. It's a wonderful asset that we can leverage, and well over 1,500 owner-operated businesses run by people who truly care about their communities and about the health and well-being of each other. So that's what really drives me is just working with those folks and building that movement and continuing to work on projects to advance that cause.
Wow, so many important notes you touched on there. Food security is a huge problem, a massive problem that are we seeing, and is there any solution to this? So maybe we'll get to that later on. But what inspires you most about your current work?
I think it's the people. The people really inspire me. I mean, I was just at a farmer's market this morning, and I feel incredibly inspired by the how much hard work goes into being a small scale producer, and a social and economic paradigm that is increasingly moving towards centralization, corporatization, and consolidation. These folks face an uphill battle at all times to grow and produce quality food and other products. Um, and are, like I said, facing an almost insurmountable battle. We have a variety of local farmers that have gone out of business, including a really important half century old local meat producer that went out of business just within the past couple of days here in Nova Scotia. Um, we've lost a significant portion of our farms and our farmers over the past 5 years alone, over 20%. Yet when I go to the farmers market, the space, and it could be anywhere. This morning it was a hockey rink. The space is animated with the laughter and the chatter of folks convening over good food, but not just convening, also contributing to local economic activity. That churn, that local economic multiplier effect that happens when dollars are spent and recirculate locally. And it didn't feel like an extractive environment, even though the market is still a place of commerce, first and foremost. It felt like a regenerative, community-oriented space. So I guess one of the things that's so fantastic is just how good I feel, and maybe that's a little selfish, but how good I feel when I'm in the very institutions, those public markets, those third places that are for everyone, and how hard the people who make those markets possible, how hard they work, and yet still show up day after day. That's where I drive so much of my inspiration from, and really keeps me going.
Exactly. That's unfortunate that he had to close down. So what came to mind is having those, and it still exists, I think, somewhere in the South, old town hall meetings,
Mm.
coming together and having these local meetings like, hey, Farmer Brown in the meat shop, he's about to close down. We can't let that happen. How many people eat meat here? How many people buy meat? Where do you buy your meat? Where do you source your meat? Do you know how he treats his meat? Like having these reoccurring meetings within the community to keep them enlightened, because a lot of times they'll come and say, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea, because a lot of times people are caught up in their own world. But these, coming together as a community and saying, hey, red light, he's about to close. Do you buy meat? Yeah, so that just came to my mind.
Yeah, that's a great example because I mean, that accountability, and again, like I mentioned, that kinship and camaraderie, that
Yeah,
sense of community belonging is so integral, and we lose that when we corporatize every element of our lives. I don't want to spend too much time on the soapbox, chanting down the big institutions. I don't believe in them, but
that's
I
right.
don't need to spend much time. I'd rather spend my time promoting the very systems that keep humanity at their heart, and that's really where that sort of community support to help keep businesses alive, and that ability to pivot on the spot and respond locally is so integral. And that's also an incredibly important element of resilience if we're talking about further economic stressors and climate change coming our way. We need to realize that resilience comes from behaving ecologically. And for humans to behave ecologically, we need to be interconnected. And that just can't
Absolutely.
happen when we vertically integrate everything.
Absolutely. Perfect. And so, that being said, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work, and how are you able to overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we're facing an uphill battle in so many ways. Like I said, I mean, we lost over a fifth of our farms and a fifth of our farmers in just the last agricultural census. That's 5 years to lose that much. That's wild. Less than 15% of the food produced in this province is locally sourced, and almost 30%, almost a third of the population is experiencing food insecurity. It's evident to me that status quo isn't working. Yet we continue to be an export-dominated province, increasingly focusing on larger scale business. I think we need to have a wide ecosystem of business sizes. I'm not expecting small scale to do everything. But when you lose that small scale, you lose that community-based and human scale that is so integral. And so it's a huge challenge. The folks who stay in agriculture and food production in this province, for example, are facing a significant uphill battle, and they're aging out. The average age of our farmers and our fishers, for example, is in the mid-60s. So it's a huge, huge challenge, yet there are so many folks actively engaged, and it's not all doom and gloom. I'm seeing, it's been a lot of work, but I'm seeing the government stepping up here, investing in, for example, our nutrition coupon program that's run through the farmers markets of Nova Scotia. British Columbia, Manitoba, and Quebec also do this, and we're working to get it in other provinces. But we're taking dollars from the provincial government and from individual donors and other partners and transforming them into complementary currency that we call market bucks. And then we issue those to low-income households that are selected by community partner organizations. Those could be immigrant settlement services associations, food banks, shelters, etc. But they're organizations that have the tact and the trust and the expertise to work with folks who might need this type of support. And then folks are getting regular allotments every single week for at least 5 months, sometimes 12 months of these market bucks that they can then redeem at their farmers market and have full autonomy and choice. And we've been seeing some incredible success with that. And that's addressing, I won't say the cause of food insecurity, but it's certainly addressing some of the symptoms of food insecurity while also supporting local food production and stimulating the local economy all at once, while ensuring that folks feel like they have choice and dignity rather than just receiving, a one-time handout. This is ongoing support. And so that gives me some hope. I mean, obviously it's difficult to stay hopeful when things are trending in a difficult direction. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of work with, for example, I had mentioned earlier, I'm involved with the Halifax Regional Food Hub. We're working towards starting to source from small scale producers and connecting them to hospitals, universities, schools, restaurants. That's going to radically change the local food system here. The province of Nova Scotia just launched a school food program very recently, and we're going to work as hard as we can to make sure that those tenders are fulfilled by local organizations so that public dollars go towards local producers and support the local economy. So there is potential here in a province that has the most farmers markets per capita in the country to leverage our local food assets to address some of these challenges. So I kind of am meandering about, but if I had to take something out of it, I would say that every challenge is also an opportunity, especially if we take a community-based approach to it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I totally agree. You will inspire the people that community does care. That you are still giving them that dignity that they so need. So even though it's not the cause, we know the cause. It's really big, but you inspire them, keep them going, keep the drive going, and know why this work is so important. So that's perfect. And what are your key priorities right now?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of what I'm working on, leveraging Canadian farmers markets and working at the national level. We're working with the federal government, the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, in an attempt to build a dedicated national fund that will help to support provincial farmers market nutrition coupon programs. We've had a meeting with the federal minister and deputy minister, and we've had some follow-up discussions with their colleagues, and we're working on building a multi-year program. And we have an e-petition that's been supported by Court Johns in British Columbia. And so that's a national campaign that we've been working on because we think that this national fund will help to incentivize provincial governments to invest in these programs that have been proven to be effective across Canada. That's one big one that we're working on. We're also here in Nova Scotia working on securing funding to make sure that we can launch the Halifax Regional Food Hub. We've gone through a few rounds of funding, and things are looking very positive that we'll be able to formally launch this year, which we're very excited about. And we'll have more information about that soon. And then we're also just getting ready to launch a program called Taking Root, which is an incubation and acceleration program built specifically for folks who have literally faced barriers getting to the table. So this program is specifically for entrepreneurs who identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, and or as a new Canadian, somebody who's just arrived, who we know for a fact often face more barriers to becoming entrepreneurs. And we've been able to partner with some incredible organizations that have the expertise to help us make this happen. Within Nova Scotia, we've got 5 different organizations that we're really excited to work with. And we'll be launching this at least 10 markets, and we're hoping to incubate 30 to 40 entrepreneurs by the end of the summer, possibly up to 75 by the end of the fall if everything goes to plan. And we'd like to make this a regular program as well. It will help our markets attract more vendors, diverse, incredible vendors that bring new perspectives and new products into the market, while hopefully making our markets more inclusive and accessible spaces. I mean, we recognize that this takes a long-term approach, and so partnering with these organizations has been really, really helpful. And we're going to be providing a variety of supports, financial, mentorship, marketing, promotions, food safety training, etc., to help these folks become vendors and hopefully have long-term success. So that's something we're really excited about. And yeah, I would say at the largest scale is, with regards to farmers markets, is just mobilizing them in a time of food inflation, in a time of increasing prices for things like food. Can we leverage farmers markets as embedded local food infrastructure as spaces that potentially are more affordable, more adaptive, and more responsive to the needs of folks? So the last thing I'll say is we've partnered with Dr. Phoebe Stevens at Dalhousie University's college or Faculty of Agriculture to look at the way in which local food systems insulate, so to speak, against price increases and food inflation. So we've actually, preliminary data has shown that in the farmers market, we're actually seeing prices increase far less than they have been increasing in more vertically integrated food distribution places such as supermarkets. And again, this is less about us versus them, and it's more about building the capacity of those localized food systems, because I truly believe that that's where the alternative needs to be. It needs to be community oriented. It needs to be social impact focused. It needs to be more about just the bottom line. It needs to be about the triple bottom line. And that's one of the things we want to make sure that farmers markets aren't sort of elitist spaces that don't feel accessible to everybody. We need to continue to make them representative of the communities in which they serve, because they're public markets, after all. They need to be of and for the public. So that's a huge priority of ours, and we're trying to tackle that in a few different ways.
Wow, that's amazing. Much success in all those endeavors. Like you said, it's not about, us versus them, but it's really just doing community-based, work that will show improve. The numbers will show, the data will show that when it comes to community and putting the effort into community work and showing that we can come together and support each other in times of need and all that, then to me, the data will just show once we put in the work, right? Not about, oh, Loblaws here or what, whatever food source that you have going on there. It's not about that. It's really about just us coming together as community and helping community. That's it. Excellent.
Absolutely.
And so, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada right now?
Oh, I mean, I view it from a few different ways. One is it's absolutely required. We're not going to, that sort of old saying, which is insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get different results. It's not going to happen. The current economic paradigm is a blip in the grand scheme of human history, and it led to a temporary abundance of resources. And we've passed that threshold. By all accounts, things are getting worse. And I don't want to spend, like I said, too much time on the soapbox saying, the sky's falling, because we all know it is. I think social impact is integral, and it sets the sort of scale and tone and parameters for where we need to go next, which is to center community and center the well-being of individuals first and foremost, rather than the sort of padding the stats of shareholders. It needs to be more than just profit. We cannot continue to be profit and growth oriented. We really need to be social and community oriented. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to my work with the Center for Local Prosperity, for example. But I think, we have a competitive advantage in that it inherently feels human to invest in social impact, and it does not feel human to invest in infinite growth and infinite shareholder return. Only a privileged few benefit from a dividend on their investments. And I'm not going to go out there and shame folks for their investment portfolios, but I am going to encourage folks to consider the way in which they invest, whether that is with expendable income or whether it's with their time. Things, in my opinion, must return to the human scale, and that's where social impact thrives. And it allows for the emergence of these emergent properties that we just cannot see in traditional realms of finance and investment, and where a lot of money goes, whether it's public or private. For example, I'll use some sort of data from our nutrition coupon program from last year. First and foremost, I'll tell you that we gave out about $300,000 in complimentary currency last year, and 96% of it was redeemed, which meant folks really need it and used it. And that 4% that wasn't redeemed, we just recycle its value back in. So it's no money lost. And we don't tell folks what to redeem their dollars on. We give folks the ability to go and have full dignity and choice over what they're doing, full inclusion in the communities in which they're involved in, their farmers market that they get to go to. And 80% of all the market bucks have gone towards food products. We don't tell folks what to spend it on. Over a third, or almost a third, sorry, are going towards primary produce. So folks are scratch cooking at home. That's super awesome. And we have this data. It's incredible. We don't tell folks what healthy is. That's not important. People can determine that for themselves. But 91% of program participants stated that they felt like they were eating healthier foods than normal thanks to participating in this program. And 88% said that they're eating foods or consuming foods that weren't part of their diet previously. And almost 80% expect to make longer-term changes to their diet. Again, we're not saying what's healthy and what's not. And importantly, 93% of folks felt that they felt a greater sense of community belonging for having participated in this program. And 94% stated that their mental health was improved. Now, I bring these examples up not to raise our own praises. I believe in this program. I think it's a fantastic program. I hope someday it becomes obsolete and is no longer required in a province where almost a third of the population is food insecure. But this demonstrates what sort of that social impact lens is. We don't just say we want to try to put a rug over the problem. We want to enhance, uplift, and take care of folks while dealing with issues. It's not just about providing financial support. It's about also providing an experience that supports the physical, mental, and community health of individuals. And I think that that's so important. And we're doing this with an eye to the local circular economy. so that we're helping folks while also helping local producers, and those dollars churn locally. And so that's what I really think. I really think we need to take a pragmatic approach to this at everywhere from the local scale to the international scale. Dollars should be going towards the well-being of folks, and it should be recirculating locally, going towards community wellness and prosperity rather than offshore bank accounts and the play toys of the rich and famous. It just really does not make sense, and it's never been defensible. But in a time where we can see everything in HD on our phones, it's no longer acceptable. So I think the future's bright because it makes sense and because it's required.
Amazing. Wow. That's some incredible numbers. And, it's eye-opening as well. Like you said, 96%. So we know that there is a need, there was someone that said collaboration is the only solution for systems change. And that's what it really boils down to. It's collaboration of like-minded people who want to see change happen within the community. It's about, like you said, that human experience, what we're going through, that personal touch of, hey, everybody deserves a right for food security in this world, and no matter the rich, famous, it's not about that anymore. And people are going to see that as the years go on, those walls are crumbling. So it's really about the human experience, everybody coming together and being the community and being the change that we need to see, not only for us, but I always go back to the next generation. Once we reach a certain age, it's not about us anymore. As long as babies are being born, we have to do our part. And people like you and Setsi, we're all playing our part as much as possible, but there's so much more that needs to be done, but one step at a time, right?
One step at a time, absolutely.
Great. So my goodness, this was such an impactful, inspiring interview. If you can just let us know your closing thoughts and calls to action at this time.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, it's an old cliche, but think global, act local. I think the solution to so many of our problems can be found right at the community scale. And that taken collectively, the emergent property of a bunch of people thinking locally is going to have massive global implications. So there's no, if I'm going to take it to the farmers market level, something we've been saying a lot lately is there's no little bit is too little. Every little bit counts. Every little change counts. Just a visit to the market is a radical act in a time where you're being encouraged to live in a box alone and outsource all of your requirements to delivery services. Just showing up and being human can have a massive, massive impact on the folks around you. And I truly believe that the solutions to so many problems come from just showing up and being human. So get out there and go hang out. Maybe check out a farmer's market.
Absolutely. They're awesome. I've sold things in there and I go there as much as possible. So please, everyone, take heed, listen very carefully, take notes, listen to the data that he's giving you. Like, this is eye-opening. This is what we need to be focusing on because it's in his area, but guess what? It's everywhere. It is a global issue that is going on right now. So, Justin, I want to call you Justice because that's what you're exuding right now. You really are. I wish you so much success, and we are with you. And anything, anywhere that Ceci can help to bring that impact, bring that awareness, we are definitely behind you on that. So, on behalf of Ceci, we really thank you for taking the time to, being with us and being that leader that we need to be for our next generation.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. And thanks for those kind words. And yeah, much appreciated.
You're welcome. So we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So once again, Justin, I appreciate you. Setsi appreciates you, and you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate it.
Take care, dear.
You too. Bye-bye.